Hello and welcome to Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. Online marketplaces such as Amazon are spelling the end for brick and mortar businesses, leaving a lot of places look like ghost towns. And are they really spelling the end? Is there a lot of truth in that? Well, today I'm talking to Neil Baboolal. Neil has decades of experience working in brick and mortar and is now transitioning into the online marketplace with his brand Jackie and Joe for dogs and dog owners. So if you were interested in what the future has in store for brick and mortar businesses and online marketplaces, this episode is for you. Neil, welcome to Give Yourself Some Leeway, and thank you for taking the time to join the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast, Eugene.
For those who aren't familiar with Jackie and Joe, would you mind sharing a bit about your own story and how you came about starting Jackie and Joe?
Well, I'll start with my story. My name is Neil Baboolal. I reside in Trinidad. I am the youngest of 4 siblings. I own my own brick and mortar store currently. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. And I am super excited to be on your show today. Both my parents and grandparents owned and operated their own brick and mortar stores. My dad owned and operated a recreation club for over 40 years. My mom also operated her own brick and mortar general store for over 30 years. So this is where I developed the love and passion at a very young age for business. And I would always say that I was born into this business environment. At a tender age, I would take a few items from my mom's store and resold it in school. So I guess this is where it all began. And after I sold it, then I will pay her back. So, being the last of 4 children, it was interesting. So I continued with that I learned, from young a little thing about profits at that time. Just to add a little more, every summer, my parents will take us for summer vacations. Now, to be honest, I love traveling up to presently. So it gave me this idea that, maybe on Christmas vacations, Easter vacations, and summer vacations, I could help out my mom. And as I grew older, I did the same with my dad, so that I could earn a little money value from them, stipend. So that will help me. And that is where it helped me to save. I learned the value of money at that time. Saving, I got my first bank account opened. So it was a lesson from a really young age about the value of what money is and what it is supposed to be used for. So as I grew older, I always loved reading and learning and the curiosity for doing just, I guess, get into the unknown. So I used to buy business magazines. I bought Fortune and Forbes, and I distinctively remember on that first Fortune, that was way back then. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs was on that cover. So that has stood out in my memory. And I always liked fitness too. So I used to buy fitness magazines. So after a short time, I realized that these books and issues are piling up in my room, as I would say. So there is where this great idea came. Why don't I use my mom's business, take a little shelf space, as I will say, place the magazine there and see if I could get it resold. So I did just that. I sold it for like quarter of the value just to get back some money. Therefore, I would have used that money to repurchase new issues going forward. So this is where, really, to me, this was a lesson where I learned buying, selling, profits, money value. So that was very, very important to me. And as my business love for business continued, I kept gaining knowledge, and it was important to me learning with my parents about business and the operation. Is this I call it the behind the scenes of a business, because at this tender age, I'm only concerned about buying and selling. So here's where I learned what happens behind the activities that takes place behind the business, which was like taking stock, inventory levels, profit and loss, accounting, paying overheads, and all these other activities that happen behind the scene. So, so as I, it broadened my knowledge and horizon, give me, this behind the scenes is a business is not just about buying and selling. It's all about all the activities that takes place behind together that incorporates the whole aspect, the whole, I would call it the 360-degree aspect of a business. So I always wanted to learn more. And as a person, I become more responsible. I always was intrigued about learning more. So I dip my hand in, and I will always call myself somebody who have taught themselves about the stock market. So locally, myself, I bought a stock. I remember distinctively, I bought this stock for $183. And 6 months' time, I sold it for $235. So here it is. I am making profits, right? I'm a businessman. So that was something that really stood with me. And at presently, I continue to own stocks and invest internationally. But one of the most valuable lessons that my parents taught me, that has stood with me, and I will say stood the test of time. My parents always taught us and always give back to the community. So my dad, through his business and his efforts, he would donate to the cricket and football clubs in our local community, where he will sponsor them cricket equipment, gears, etc. And he will also do fundraising events at his place. My mom also had a way of doing her own thing. She had a special home in her heart that she would ensure it was an institute for the differently able. So here she would prepare food, but it must be hand cooked in her kitchen, prepare food, and the clothes that my siblings and I that no longer we needed or we wanted, she will box and she will deliver it to the institute, which was amazing. And just to add a little to it, is that at times when they would go to this specific institute for this differently abled kids, they would carry us, my siblings and I. So back then, at that first couple times I went, it's like, why are they bringing us here? It's like, it's only after I grew old I realized it is to show us that it's not all about business. It's good to give back, and as they're being parents and my siblings and I, is that we are fortunate, we are more fortunate than others, and we are blessed. And this has stood with me up to today. And presently, I continue, although they are no longer with us, I continue to donate to the institute that my mother used to for the differently able kids, and help in any way in the local community.
That's great that your parents' legacy was passed on, not only the business skills, but also the value of money and the value of those skills and how to rightly use them to serve the community. So
Yes.
this brick and mortar style of running a business has been ingrained in you from a very young age. Do you think that brick and mortar businesses operate on a different level today?
Yes, it does operate on a different level, but I to be honest, I think with the advent of technology and online, it's become more competitive now, and in certain aspect of it, certain brick and mortar are no longer needed because of technology, the internet, the laptop, the phones. And I think since the pandemic, it has accelerated the need for more and more people prefer the choices of going online. Because even with my personal experience, where I'm from, even the normal groceries and local shops, they 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 had where you could actually order through the app or whatever through technology, and it could be delivered to your home. So it has caused some brick and mortar stores to have no other choice but to close down. So and most brick and mortar stores are really like family owned, sold, sole operator. So it's I think it's kind of, I will call it kind of indifferent for the economy and the aspect in that context. I'm not against online and I'm not against technology, but it's all about you know making a living. So I think that's it's 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 kind of good, but we have to live with it.
Do you
You
think
know,
that there are any brick and mortar stores that um, don't have to face the same competition online? Is there any particular type of brick and mortar store that you feel cannot be replaced?
there are some that cannot be replaced because, from my personal experience with dealing with customers and suppliers, there is a certain age group and a certain sector of the population that still, like they will call it, old school. They still like to go in and physically make these purchases, and they prefer to support their local community than long as the the items or the service is within their local economy, the community, they will prefer over online. And sometimes the logistics about online shopping could be a little difficult. Sometimes for example, you buy a t-shirt and it looks like it says it's small, it looks small, but you know what you get. So and the issue of return. So some people, I think some people, brick and mortar cannot totally totally leave us. It plays a very important role in the communities they serve and for the greater good of the economy.
Yes, definitely. So
Yes.
yeah, especially there, the brick and mortar is there's a sense of community behind it with that physical interaction. That's something that we missed out a lot during the pandemic, and
Oh,
I think
yes.
that's what some people need to return to that because that's what they crave. They look for that sense of connection, that community in the transaction, and that's part of the value that you can offer as a brick and mortar store. Now, as you transition from brick and mortar to online, is there a way to help mimic that interaction, that same sense of community that you have with a brick and mortar store as you build a brand online?
Well, with my level of experience, I think it is. I think I could deliver on that promise because, as I said earlier, I was born into this environment, so it was nurtured from. I was nurtured in this from very young. So I gradually, as gradually learned, and as I got older and older, and I was so experienced with the brick and mortar, and with the advent of technology and all the new stuff we have, social media, etc. I think I could deliver on that. I think the transition would be a little difficult because, in brick and mortar, we have a more human, I call it human to human relation. There are customers or suppliers will come and they like to chit chat a little bit, to keep the human connection. But I am for human connection, but I also embrace technology. I embrace technology because look, we are doing it right now. You know, We are connected through technology. You just as I hear some people say, we just need an internet connection and a laptop or a phone, and. So I think I can transition. I think with the level of experience that I have, and with the support of my wife, and I have my nephews and nieces. They are like at university. Like right now, one is doing IT. So he actually set up my landing page, and it was experience for him. I have a niece that she will help me write like my emails, and I have just a couple of others that were just there for support. But it's a support. I think the transition could be smooth. That I will use technology to connect with my customers and my audience through the different social media platform we have: Facebook, Twitter, well, not Twitter anymore, Instagram, TikTok, and the newest of them all, Threads. So we could do like lives. We could use technology to keep the human interaction. We could use lives. We could do DMs, and even I could go beyond, because in my brick and mortar, I currently go beyond the mile for my customers. I'll go out the way for them as much as I could to satisfy them. Because when you satisfy your customer, they become you create great relationships, and they become lifelong customers. And that's another point, that brick and mortar could could be tested and stand against the competition of technology. And like, I like to add to this about technology, and it's something you would know, that the buzzword about a year ago or a year and a half was the metaverse. And Facebook is spending billions in that area. Imagine people are buying their land grab in the metaverse. Interested? As I said, I embrace technology. There's AI, the advent of AI. That's a new buzzword. And I think we're in the early stages of that level of technology. So even at that level, this is just my foresightedness and my vision, that we could leverage technology, we could keep the human interaction, and we could all serve each other as best as we could, making our audience, making great content, making our audience and customers really satisfied. It's brick and mortar, and as I must say here, is a kind of one way, but with technology, it's two way. So I think that's very important. So the transition will be like everything else. It's difficult. Like Jim Rohn once said, don't think that life should be difficult. Don't think that life should be easy. That you should don't make life easy. Don't say that life is easy. You have to learn as you grow. You must learn and continually grow with the, like in this case, the business environment and all is happening around us, the trends, the market. You do your market research, and that's important. So I see the transition being a little bumpy, but that's what makes business interesting, the bumpiness. You got to enjoy the ride. You got to enjoy the journey. The journey is what it's all about.
Yeah, I think even in one way that brick and mortar stores, similar to how the cassette tape and the vinyl kind of faded for a few decades, but now their bands are putting their albums on cassette and putting their albums on vinyl again, and there's like a rejuvenation, a revival of the old technology. People are looking for that retro feel and that experience, that the sound was different compared to digital. So I think that yes, right now everything is going to be very AI, digital, online stores, but there will be a time in the future where people will crave that brick and mortar experience. When everything is online, they were like, oh, I wish I could just go into this online store in real life, not in a metaverse style where you're looking at everything virtually on a shelf. It's like, oh, what if I could actually pick that up on a shelf and read the back of that box before I put it in a basket and then proceed to check out? How real would that feel? And I feel
Yes, yes,
we are going to get to that point in the near
yes,
future, in the future. So even though now that it may be a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient to run an online store and to set up an online store with little capital compared to a brick and mortar store, I feel that in the very near future, when everything seems to be saturated online, that the real niche or the real premium experience is
yes.
going to be the brick and mortar stores that are
Motor.
still there. And even with property prices rising as well, and outlets rising, it's more attractive to have that store online. And I
Yes.
feel that there's going to be less competition for that premium brand that can maintain a brick and mortar store. It may not be profitable right now, but I feel in the future that's what people are going to crave, that experience going through a shopping mall or a shopping center and having that experience of all the shops around
Yes.
literally at your at your disposal just to walk in rather than flicking through online and throwing in a website. It becomes too convenient, and I think that people are going to be looking more for that in-person experience. It would be like having Disneyland on an app and just playing Candy Crush or whatever games on a Disneyland app. It's not the same as going to Disneyland.
No, 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 no. Yes. That's yes. I certainly think that I agree with you that brick and mortar is not dead. You know, maybe there will be, let's say, like for example, on the top of my head, Macy's or Ralph Lauren. They will have to close some of their through strategic looking at the locations and But other than that, some stores will still need to be there in that physicality. Like said about the book, like actually going and try on a pair of jeans or a suit. You want that fit. You wouldn't get that really online. So I know they have apps where you could do all this changing and change room that's virtual. But I think it's like everything else that is niched, that there will be a niche for that too. Online is going to live, brick and mortar is going to live, and as long as they could work with each other, I think that's wonderful for business, for brands, for customers, for suppliers, and everybody that is part of this cycle. Yeah, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention as well is
Uh,
your brick and mortar experience with your parents and with your family. You're continuing that with your online store, bringing your nieces and nephews, as you said, developing your landing page, helping you with your emails. You're continuing that legacy, not just by moving on from brick and mortar, but by getting them involved and sharing those values and sharing those skills through online and the way things are moving
yes,
online. So
yes,
definitely a lot of credit to you for that, for getting family involved in the online
yes,
store and teaching them the same ways as the brick and mortar.
yes, yes. That that legacy, it's like what I said about earlier about giving back. It's letting them know, you know, how the generations worked before them, and I could continue in any way that I could help or they could help me. It I am satisfied with that. I am,
So when
and
it
it gives me a
comes to
wonderful feeling. It gives you that satisfaction. Which is it's I always put it like this: it's worth more than a dollar value. You know, it's beyond. It's just human.
so when it comes to Jackie and Joe, what was the inspiration behind starting Jackie and Joe?
Well, I would like to start by saying I always have been intrigued about embarking on new ventures. I love adding to I'm currently doing, or looking for something that I call it the moment. So I am always thinking like, even my wife, my nieces, and nephew will say I'm an overthinker, but that's just who I am. So one day while brainstorming, I got this idea like, why don't I, start a side hustle? It wouldn't hurt, like time rewards action. If you stand still, you know, you're not gonna get nowhere. As Richard Branson was saying, the billionaire Richard Branson. So I will always put the first ideas to my wife. So I told her, I said, what about this crazy idea? She said yes. I will support you in any way that I can, and I am there for you. So looking at doing a little research because it's very competitive online. So you do a little research, and we came up with the pet industry. So after the pet industry, we did some thorough research and chose our niche as being dogs. And there are some little interesting little facts that I got. During the pandemic, dogs ownership increased because people was looking for companionship. We all know what happened during the pandemic internationally. And because most people were working from home, and I think even now some people are choosing to work a couple of days at home and go to the office a couple of days. They have more choices now. So, and with all this more, even women prefer to stay at home and nurture those kids if they have young kids. So, they're taking advantage of what happened there. And then the dog industry is forecasted to continue to grow. And the expert has also said that even whether the US economy goes into a recession or not, that within the dog industry, no, the pet industry, and where dogs are a niche in it, is that they will call it recession proof. It will continue to grow, and it is expected to continue to grow between 2022 and 2030 at a very interesting percentage. I think it's around 8 or 9. I'm not sure if I had my figures right annually over, So it argues well for this industry that, that you could enter industry that gives you that data. So at first we had made, so we reached the point that we made a decision. At first we had many ideas. You actually knew that I had another name for my dog brand. And I was toying around with ideas as usual. And one day, after a couple of weeks of different brand names, I got like this adrenaline rush, and I said, why? Why should I use any other name but Jackie and Joe? Why? So it all started as a child. We grew up with dogs at my home, and we had 2 German Shepherds, and that was the name. Jackie was the first one, and Joe. So I said, that's perfect, because if I'm passionate about dogs, I feel I could put that passion into this brand and make it a reality. So we did that. The unrivaled loyalty, intelligence, devotion left an inedible paw print on my heart. As I speak right now, I'm feeling like they're there. So, and I said, as I could even go further, they even had a litter of pups around, I think it's 9. But at that point in time, you couldn't have 11 dogs, 9 plus 2. So we had no other choice but my dad and my brother decided that they will sell them to people who will appreciate them and treat dogs how animals are supposed to be treated. So that's where my brother, well, I could say he started a side hustle there where he started to breed dogs, train dogs. So I guess business is in our blood, as I will say. So and I was inspired by their remarkable qualities. I want this band to pay homage to their memory while I celebrate the unconditional love that I had for them and with them. These furry friends really brought joy to our family and to me and to our homes. My siblings enjoyed them as much as I did, and they were amazing German Shepherds. And you could even hunt on them, and you feel protected. You feel a sense of comfort. Dogs give you that feeling of some comfort and level of security. So it's important And I will say here, well, welcome to the world of Jackie and Joe the dog brand, good dog. You will see that on our logo, that where every production encompass the essence of their love, unleashing the boundless joy. Jackie and Joe had an innate ability to turn the simplest moments into infectious wagging tails, and they brought immense joy to all of us. And it's important to me that we strive to capture the spirit with this brand, and the warmth that cuddles, and the magic of those when they look into your eyes, those that they speak volumes, and without their uttering a word. So our mission is to provide to dog lovers, to dog owners, products that are safe, that is, and where we will source materials that are eco-friendly, because I always like to keep in the trend that is what is going on in our environment, these scorching temperatures that we are witnessing in the most recent times, and in Europe, in the US, all over the world. So I think it's to keep that 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 we will preserve this earth for future generations. So we must do. I Jackie and Joe must even help in that way. They are gone, but their legacy must live on with this brand. This must bring it alive, and give it true meaning. And as we go along, we could, through interacting with our audience and our customers, we could improve on the products. As the old saying goes, build it ugly, start ugly, build it out, and it will improve over time. And I think that was business and branding is all about. No one cannot get it right the first time, and there is no perfect company or no perfect brand or no. So it's important that you build, and our customers and our audience should be the heroes. They are the most important, and suppliers, they play the biggest role. You might have just like Jackie and Joe, but it's all that goes on to make that come to life. It needs partnerships. It needs all this nurturing, and Jackie and Joe will also make areas where it will make my transition from brick and mortar, while keeping my brick and mortar, but making that transition, and we'll be launching firstly on Amazon. I think most likely it might be October, but that's subject to change. But you'll be updated through the various social media platforms. Why would I go on Amazon? Because Amazon is the world's largest marketplace. Most recently, they delivered the best Prime Day. Prime Day sales has increased year over year, and also recently, Amazon's quarterly results has been super. So it argues well that online and Amazon business is thriving. Some of the economists are saying there will be a recession in the US. Some are saying no. So it shows that if it's growing, it's not all that bad. So this is where we are, and I would love for dog owners and everybody to join us on this dog adventure. And I hope it's not only going to be awesome with Jackie and Joe, it's going to be super awesome.
So you're
So
going completely online for Jackie and Joe. Do you see any vision of Jackie and Joe having its own brick and mortar store?
yes, as we build as it is built out, I think what I will say here is that the customers will dictate that direction. They are the important ones here. Maybe a year or 2 years from now, they need that. They need, like what we spoke about earlier, to walk in somewhere and flip the pages of a book. Maybe they want to walk in and feel the presence of that spirit, maybe of Jackie and Joe, that will be embedded in this brand. And yes, if they ask for it and it make good business sense and it could happen, yes, why not? I believe anything is possible. So I'm a great believer. As I said, I'm always looking for something new, and I will really love that, as you say that Jackie and Joe store that might be look great in Dublin or Paris. Never know, So I have a vision that that speaks volumes. That's
Yeah,
just me.
it's a great vision to be able to serve dog owners worldwide, and not
Yes.
only just online and
No.
with global shipping, but having that physical store where people can walk in, and maybe you have nutritional advice for the dogs. You have that personal touch where every dog and every dog owner feels the safety of Jackie and Joe, and every dog also feels the safety in the products, and that the owner can trust in the products, that they are safe for their dog.
Oh yes, yes. I think that's a great idea you brought up there. I never really thought about Jackie and Joe going brick and mortar. So that's great. That's
Again,
a
leave it
great
up to the
point.
customer. If it serves the customer to have a
Yes,
brick and
yes,
mortar store, then I definitely see brick and mortar stores coming back majorly in the future.
yes, yes,
There will be a demand for it. If everything goes online, people are going to look for the brick and mortar experience.
yes, definitely.
So
And that might
I
just
yeah,
and that might just create a special niche that might be very
exactly.
profitable. Might just be, you know, uh, as we say, retro, but it might even be more feasible than because you could because even there you're even giving me ideas. I'm brainstorming right now where you could collaborate with vets and shelters. Everything dog and maybe and as I'm thinking, maybe you could even go to other pets, cats. You know, you, it could all it always has a spin-off. Yeah, so it's a wild vision, but it's possible.
Yeah.
But the
The
customer is
sky's the limit
important
for
there.
Jackie and Joe.
Yes, yes, the sky's the limit.
And there's a great play on words there. I'm not sure if you've come across it, but you can always say to embark on new adventures.
Oh yes, we'll be back into the to Jackie and Joe's store in London, or Paris. Maybe and maybe different language as I say Paris, so maybe a French twist on it might be interesting.
So when is Jackie and Joe finally launching online on Amazon?
Well, as about the last week in October, long as everything goes as planned and everything is set up, I'm just about there with suppliers and setting up with Amazon. Let's hope that will be a Christmas gift on somebody's Christmas under somebody's Christmas tree.
And if people want to find out more about Jackie and Joe or get updates, what's the best way for them to stay in touch?
Well, through the landing page, I have all the major social media platforms: Facebook, X, as we formerly Twitter, Instagram, um, Threads, the newest one. We are there too. We have LinkedIn, and there's a special one on Facebook. The Facebook, it's a private community for everything that's dog lovers, where everyone could be a part. You may not even have to become a customer, but we learn, we grow, we could interact, we learn about maybe a dog's birthday, something special about your dog, or something that I don't know everything. So there's always it's for learning and just for interaction. As I said, to keep the human element alive, which
Great.
is
We'll stick
important.
all those social links into the show notes, just so that if
Yes.
anyone does want to find out more about Jackie and Joe, they can find it all in one place.
No. Yes. No problem. That
Great.
will be
Neil, it was
super.
great having you on the show. And thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
so much about brick and mortar businesses, the future of brick and mortar, moving online, that transition to online shopping, and Jackie and Joe, where both your dogs and the dog owners can feel safe.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. Thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, I would love to hear your feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like? Because it's your feedback that fuels me to make every new episode. What do you want to hear? What do you think will help you fulfill your growth in 2023? You help to determine what guests I bring onto the podcast. So head over to giveyourselfsomeleeway.com and leave me a voice note, leave me a message, or book a call. Let's have a quick chat. Maybe we can find what's keeping you stuck in 2023. What's holding you back from achieving your goals, from achieving success, from pursuing growth? It'll only cost you 20 or 30 minutes of your time. So pause your Netflix, grab a glass of water, and let's have a quick chat. Until then, take care.